Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Professor Fleming here with a brief overview of what to do for next Tuesday. A number of you came by on Thursday after class and expressed the fact that you might be confused. So what we're going to do today with this short video is update you on what you should be working on now and what's going to be happening on Tuesday. So first thing I want to talk about is the guiding principles. You guys had a great start on that last Thursday, and you each have 3 drafts, principles, or 2. On Tuesday, we're going to vet them, which means as a larger group, we're going to go through them and try to optimize them to get them to where you think they're going to be the best. And your reflections will be due after that. Now, I just want to show you, in case you need to find the handout from before in Blackboard, if I go to SDN 621 SP16 content, you'll notice that this folder has been rearranged. Your link to the project workbook is here still. All of the site research, inventory, analysis, all of that is now in this one overall folder. So if you need to find anything from before, it's in here, and we'll go into that in a minute. All the collaboration materials are here. For those who didn't take SDN 601, this is where all of the integral theory and sustainable design videos are stored. And then if you want to go back into the assignment for the guiding principles, because there is a rubric, the assignment is right here, and there's also a video from last year on guiding principles in charrette, so that might be helpful for you, especially for those who are new. And in any case, the also important thing to mention here is that the internet is very slow right now. There we go. The link to the project workbook, this is our shared Google file, is always going to be here at the top, so it's easy to find. Right now it's labeled in a very straightforward way, and so for example, that looks wrong to me. How does that look? That looks much better. And if you remember, in here we had all of the takeaways. Now already you can see graphically we're going to have to do some work to get this thing unified. And you saw the books that Kim handed out last week. That's our goal. We want to get to that level of quality. Right now we're in the data collection and inventory stage, so it doesn't have to be pretty, but it won't be long before all this has to get cleaned up and put into a good way. Now, I've also begun to make a table of contents for you. So if I hold the control, actually if I just click on this, it will take me to a place in the document that is set up for guiding principles. So wherever you see a gray screen, that's the beginning of a new section. And what you'll see here is guiding principles, performance team, insert 3 draft principles below. So what I want each team to do for Tuesday is go ahead and have your 3 draft principles inserted in here. And I've got a screen for each of you for right now. So under systems, you're going to want to go ahead and put in a set of bullets here that are your drafts. So draft, I know I can't type. I know it drives you crazy. Principle 1 would go right here. I know this all sounds really seems odd that I would go through and do a movie like this in such detail, but I think it's important to go over. Now let me go back to the PowerPoint for a moment. The other things that we're going to be working on are going to be examples. We're going to talk some more about some examples of site inventory, which Kim showed you before. I'm going to show you where those are in the Blackboard. And mostly what you should be doing between now and Tuesday is rough collection of site inventory information and place that into a place that makes sense given how we can sort it later. So I'm going to talk about that. Grabbing images from the old inventory, images from master plan, images from what you have already done, because you guys have already started a lot of really nice diagrams. Some of that's analysis, but there's no reason you can't start to use that as a rough beginning. On Tuesday, we're going to be talking about how to format and organize all of this information into common graphic language, common scales. We'll talk more about the GeoDesigner. So let me go back out to Blackboard for a minute, show you where things have kind of moved around a little bit. So I'm going to go into the overall project research, inventory, and analysis. And I think you should realize the reason I'm making this video is I'm expecting you to go in and look at all of these documents and understand them. And I think a lot of you have been doing that. So remember, all the supporting documents are still here, including the Lower Schuylkill Plan, the Lower South Plan, the Complete Streets handout, and the Delaware River Master Plan are all still here. So nothing's been removed. This is the example from last year. So if you remember this workbook from last year, here it is right here. And if I wanted to just remind you that on the second screen there's a table of contents, which is very useful. So if I wanted to get some site inventory from last year, I could just click here and I'll get right into the site inventory from before. I don't want you guys to take all this stuff from before. I want you to take only the things that are going to be useful to you. So for example, maybe something like this could be useful. This is just a location map. Here's a SEPTA map. I don't think this is very useful and doesn't really say much about our site, which is down here. So there's probably better images that we can find in here. However, I did see that there are some pretty interesting maps in here that could be used. So for example, on slide 60, you may see something like this. Now this is not going to be the actual image that you're going to use. However, you may just want to copy that and then come over to our research 621 and scroll down, or you can go here and you can click on site inventory. This will take you to the beginning of site inventory. Now that was the Delaware watershed. So if I think about that, that's a systems perspective at the bioregional scale. So these slides have been set up for you by scale and by perspective to give you a place to drop things in that you think might be useful. Now this is not the map that you're going to really use, and really for right now these things can be kept very small because they're just for your own information. And so that's one of the things that we want you to do, is take things from the old one, but only things that make sense given what we're trying to work on. Here's one from the old one. This is the East Coast Greenway. So if you're thinking about pedestrian pathways or pedestrian trails that the Navy Yard might want to link into, you would need this information. So I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to go up back over to the one that we're working on. And instead of the systems perspective, we decided that we were going to put circulation into the culture section. And the culture section at the bioregional, I actually already placed that here. You could just put that in here. And what that allows you to do is have a head start on some of your inventory. And as Kim would tell you, most of the inventory is actually already done. The hard part is collecting it, sorting it, and then reformatting it and presenting it into a common way that we can use more specifically for the Navy Yard analysis, which is going to be really critical. Now the other place that you can begin to snag images is over here back in the supporting documents. So for example, the Lower South Plan and the Lower Schuylkill Plan have images that might be useful to you that you can clip away and use as a basis for making the final inventory diagram. So here's some cool stuff in here. We're not just, it doesn't do any good to just take these maps randomly, right? So for example, what I would look at here is, I'm going to go down, there we go. There's proposed green space. And let's see, I'm looking actually for the trail. So here, see this red dash line is long-term Schuylkill Banks Trail extension at the city scale. Would I like to bring that over here to the Navy Yard potentially to connect all the way around to the Delaware? Probably. Is it possible? We don't know yet. We haven't done the analysis. But in order to collect from a PDF, I'm going to do the Windows S, and I'm going to do, anyway, whatever way you want to clip images, I'm going to clip this image out of here. And I'm going to then take that image and I'm going to bring it over into the city scale. So I'm going to copy to clipboard. In this case, we're really looking at the city scale of pedestrian circulation, so I might put that here. So that becomes a piece of information that we can use. That's not the final, and ultimately some of this information that we collect might not be useful, but don't just bring everything in here and dump it in. Try to be somewhat systematic about the scale that you're bringing the information in and the perspective that you're bringing the information in. So the other example, I can go to the Lower South Plan, and I bet that there's a lot of information in here that could be useful for you. Again, here's the transportation. So that to me is a really useful diagram in terms of site inventory, in terms of, now this looks a little bit like analysis. So whenever you see recommendations, now we're getting into that. So let's go back up and try to find something that is more about the inventory of what's already there. So here we have all kinds of proposed lines, which might be useful. And if I go further up, I want to stay here in transportation for a minute. So there's a drawing. So here we have highways. So I would think that if we're going to be looking at the city scale, this image might be pretty useful. And I'm going to go ahead and grab that and also grab in the source for that at the same time. It's good to know if we're going to use something specifically in a very specific way from somebody else, we would want to source that. So I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. I'm going to go out here, and now I'm going to be at the city scale. So if this was, for example, this was pedestrian circulation, I might have one coming in that might be, and this might be vehicular circulation. I might also want to do one on bike routes. So I wonder if we can begin to collect these and then we can begin to make maps that make sense. Now I think the best way to do this is to have another little window here. So you might want to do this, copy that, and then you'll have this guy, and this might be vehicular circulation. Remember, this is vehicular circulation. Now, I'm not going to do more because you guys need to do this, but all of you have different perspectives. So if you're in the performance, for example, if you're in the performance perspective and you're at the district scale, I think there are really good utility maps, for example, that have already been done. They need to be formatted and put into a common graphic language, but I bet if you go back to, say, this guy right here, I bet if you go down to the district scale, you'll find some pretty useful plans here. Those of you, for example, are studying noise, and again, sounds might be different from noise. Here are some diagrams that might be helpful. Ultimately, we're going to have a common framework. Here's a flood map. Is that a good flood map? Not sure. This is something that we'll be doing as we vet the information on Tuesday. So for Tuesday, what I want you to be using is, and anything from your already things that you've gotten in the site design projects you've already done, the old one here, or some of the other aspects that we have, and begin to fill in this workbook so that we can begin to fill it out. And then from there, we'll start to clean it up and create a common language. So if you have any questions about this video, you can send me an email, and I'd be happy to answer that. Thank you.